Let's talk about Russian women. No, I am not going to speak about Russian bridal market, but when you Google Russian women, most of the results it returns are actually about this. Or maybe you want me to speak about that? Let me know in the comments. But as a Ukrainian, as a woman, I do want to be polite and concise and informationally useful, and I want to speak about a different aspect. My name is Anna and I'm from Ukraine. At the beginning of the brutal Russian invasion, I was deeply surprised why Russian women do not protest against Putin's war and him sending thousands of their men to the front lines of the totally unjust and unnecessary war. But some brief analysis and understanding of their history made me understand why. And now I want to introduce you to what is it to be a woman in Russia. In Ukraine, women have always played an important part in social life, and I'm very proud of that. And let me give you just a couple of examples. Kyiv, our capital, was founded in the 5th century by 3 brothers and their sister Lebed, and the history chronicles all keep her name because she was an important part of the process. We had a lot of successful princesses like Princess Anna of Kyiv or Princess Olga. And Cossack wives were really cool. When their husbands were fighting, they were real businesswomen, protecting the household, selling the goods and developing fast manufactures. My dad loved me very much. And I remember how he introduced me to various fairy tales, legends, and even Ukrainian national folk songs that described women as strong and successful. Actually, in the majority of Ukrainian folk tales, a woman is the one that controls everything. And today, we have more than 30,000 women in Ukrainian armed forces on different positions, like snipers or commanders of tank crew. And I want to sum it all up with my favorite Ukrainian traditional joke. It describes a new family where a husband introduces his wife to a set of family rules. And he says, if my cap is turned left, I'm angry, don't touch me. If my cap is turned right, I'm busy, don't distract me. And his wife answers, and when my hands are on the hips, I don't care about your cap. You have to listen to what I say. So this is a very typical posture of a Ukrainian woman who controls everything. One of the very popular Russian proverbs says, if he beats you, he loves you. Unbelievable, right? But you can often hear this phrase repeated in Russian movies and, what is worse, conversations on the street. Abuse is only registered when it leads to the hospitalization of the victim. And 1 in every 5 Russian women faces domestic violence. For example, in 2015, 5,000 Russian women died because of domestic violence. And when I read such researches, I start to believe all of these Russian wives are actually happy that their husbands are fighting in Ukraine or will get killed, because this, to some extent, liberates them and gives Lada and money. I know many people in the West tend to believe in Russian propaganda about traditional family values. But Russia substitutes this idea with toxic masculinity. And here is an evidence. In 2017, they decriminalized a law on domestic violence. And the first fee that a husband has to pay for beating his wife is close to $80. And Russian society loved this decision. At the very beginning of his career, dictator Putin decided he wants to stay long at power. And to divert attention from serious corruption, he decided to imitate fake morality and speak a lot about orthodoxy. But in reality, modern Russian Christian church resembles other radical movements that hate women. For example, in 2014, Moscow declined ratification of Istanbul Convention, one of the main documents that guarantees women's rights. And Putin commented, it goes against the traditional values of Russian society. But why? Because of the concept of toxic masculinity, and Putin uses it very often. What is worse, the majority of men and women in Russia like it. When asked what they support in the image of Putin, they say he is a man, he is very manly. That's how Russians see a real man, a shirtless Putin. Do you remember these photos? And can you imagine your leader, your president, in such photo session? Can you imagine Biden without shirt or, Zelensky? I think it's absurd. Maybe you didn't know or you forgot about that, so I will remind you. When Israeli President Moshe Katsav was accused by 10 women for raping, Putin's reaction was, "A mighty man, we all envy him." And that is the answer of a father of daughters. You may say, it is all very personal, some comments, we all make mistakes, what does it have to do with politics? Then let me remind you a speech of Putin before the start of the brutal Russian invasion. When talking about Ukraine, he compared it to a woman and said, "Нравится, не нравится, терпи, моя красавица," which can literally be translated into English, "Like it or not, but bear with me, my beauty." These are the words from a song about a rape, and that's what Russia wanted to do to Ukraine, and unfortunately does. Russia has always been a gloomy, depressive place with bad demographic situation, but after the start of Russian war in Ukraine, they have already lost 300,000 men, which leads to a demographical crisis. And Russian Minister of Health finds a solution, not to stop this war, but to make Russian women give birth to more children at a younger age. And he starts describing career perspectives as sinful because this leads to fewer children born in Russian families, and he demands that Russian women start giving birth since 18 so that they are able to produce 4 or 5 sons, and career or other life choices are not important. So they see the solution not in the improved life of society and more support to women, but in just giving birth to more women and men that will be sent later to the front lines and die here in Ukraine. For centuries, Russia was trying to steal Ukrainian history, pretending it has something to do with Kievan Rus. But it's not true. Russia is the continuation of a Mongolian horde, and I have nothing against Mongolia as a country. I speak about 13th, 14th century and strict hierarchy and disrespect to human life in golden hordes. Disrespect to family, disrespect to woman is later translated into this disrespect to the world and its values that Russia very vividly demonstrates with each passing day. I am happy to be a woman. I am happy to be Ukrainian. And I clearly understand Russian women will not protest. Part of them like this war, others used to violence and abuse. Perhaps there will be more of Russian brides on the market, taking into account huge losses of Russian army in Ukraine, or other sanctions to Russian brides. I don't know, let me know. and subscribe to follow the updates from Ukraine on our way to the victory.